Would I fight Ludwig van Beethoven? Would I fight Robert Schumann? If there's one thing I learned from A, my history class, and B, the movies, it's that you don't mess with Russia. Hello, this is Maria. I recently just watched Tyler Oakley basically put into quadrants famous cartoon queer characters, depending on like whether he would fight them and whether he would get his ass kicked or not, and I thought it was funny. So I thought, you know what? I kinda wanna do that, and I'm totally gonna take his idea and have some fun with it and run with it, and I thought it would be educational to do it with music composers, specifically for like around the Romantic era, but I would love to do like a second part with like different composers from other eras. I've got some notes down here from when I took my Western Arts History class, so I thought it would be funny to rank them, whether I would fight them and whether they'd kick my ass or I'd kick theirs, I don't know. For this video to be educational, I'm also gonna be giving you some facts about them. Obviously, sharing is caring and stay in school. So yeah, my computer is right here, so I'm gonna shift from here to there. Alright, so let's start. You can see that I have already started with Beethoven, since like he did bridge the gap between the classical and the Romantic era. I mean, he was a child prodigy. He apparently was hot-tempered. He moved to Vienna when he was 22. His publishing fees were his main source of income. He turned deaf, many of you know, he did turn deaf, and obviously his musical style changed because of his deafness. He's like described to have 3 periods, which is like up to like 1802, he was influenced by Haydn and Mozart. 1803 to 1814, his music was longer and more heroic. And 1815 to 1827, it was more stormy, awkward, unique, pretty awesome sounding. He stopped playing piano because of his deafness, but he did still conduct his pieces, and there were more than 20,000 people at his funeral. His most popular works were his symphonies. Symphony number 9 in D major is like what we know as Ode to Joy. Having told you all of these facts, would I fight him? Would I fight Ludwig van Beethoven? No, I would not fight him. I would not fight Beethoven. But if I did fight him, I would let him kick my ass because he already had like such a tough life. So I would let him. But since I would let him, I'm gonna like have it right in the center. Sure, let's do that. Next up, we're gonna do, let's do Franz Schubert. When I was studying Franz Schubert, I thought he was the definition of a geeky dude that also had like this fuckboy attitude, because of the Schubertiads. So Schubertiads were like the parties that he used to throw. In said parties, he would only play his music. So these are some facts. He popularized the art song. He was born in Vienna. His income was mainly from composition, which was like very impressive that he didn't have to teach back then. So a lot of people taught. The greatest composers taught. He did not mingle with the aristocracy. He wrote 9 symphonies and wrote around 600 art songs, along with symphonies, string quartets, chamber music, sonatas, operas, and masses. So this guy was like genuinely talented, but I can't help but think that I would love to get on a fight with him. Just because, you know, like I've had my fair share of like geeky dudes that kind of have that like fuckboy attitude. I'd like to throw a punch, yeah. So we're gonna put Schubert, and yes, I would fight them. Would I kick his ass? I feel like I could, yeah. I have so much like anger from like geeky dudes that have that fuckboy attitude. I could totally let that anger out with Schubert. So sure, I would kick his ass. Next up, let's do Robert Schumann. Okay, fun fact, I actually wrote an essay about him and his wife Clara. I called it The Peculiar Life of the Schumanns. I was just really interested in their lives and how they were both like a little bit quirky, I guess. Just to tell you a little insight on Schumann, there's that myth of like him wanting to stretch out his fingers so he could be like the best pianist in the world. And he actually like made a contraption that would end up crippling his fingers, it wasn't the wisest choice. Really not like confirmed. There's myths that say that he was suffering from like a certain sickness and that he drank that, and obviously that's not good for you, but back then it wasn't proven that it wasn't good for you, and that ended up like crippling his fingers. Either ways, he married Clara Schumann. He became schizophrenic and he almost drowned himself. He actually died in a mental hospital. He was good friends with Johannes Brahms, but you know, that would later on come and kick him in the butt when Brahms, this like weird affair that he had with Clara that isn't confirmed, but everyone kind of knows. But yeah, he was a music critic. During his earlier years, he only published piano pieces since he married Clara, and Clara was like a piano virtuoso. She interpreted a lot of like Robert's pieces and introduced them to the public. And I mean, he also discovered like other composers. So with that being said, would I fight Robert Schumann? And that is, no, I wouldn't. I would not. I feel bad. I just genuinely feel bad for the guy. Schizophrenia is a terrible disease, and having your dreams crippled because of a stupid choice that you did because of your fingers. Yeah, no, I just feel bad for the guy. Would he kick my ass? I mean, I would technically kick his ass, but I don't have the heart. So I would let him kick my ass yet again. Clara, it could be another thing. We could have a cat fight. Yes, I don't think she's in the list that I found online, but I'd probably fight her, sure. Oh, Chopin. Chopin was a great composer that like solely composed for piano. At age 21, he arrived in Paris. That was like the center of the Romantic movement back then. He disliked crowds and he was very shy, so he wanted to play his pieces in like smaller places, so just like in salons. He conceived short pieces like nocturnes and preludes and waltzes. Oh, he had an affair with George Sand, who was like a female novelist. It was pretty well known. He taught piano to the rich kids. He wrote colorful harmonies. He had like etudes, which is like study pieces designed to help a performer to master like specific skills and technical difficulties. He wrote Polonaise, like a piece in triple meter, originated as a stately processional dance of the Polish nobility. An example is a Polonaise in A-flat major. And yeah, he wrote nocturnes or night pieces, which are slow, lyrical, intimate compositions for the piano. And his nocturne in E-flat major is chef's kiss. Amazing. Would I fight Chopin? Yes, I would fight him just because. I don't really have a reason. No, wait, no, he's shy. He's shy. Maybe not. Okay, I wouldn't fight him, but I would kick his ass if I did. Let's put him like right there. Next up is Franz Liszt. When we were studying Mr. Franz Liszt in class, I mentioned that he was very handsome, and the picture that they were using is this one right here. I was like, dang, he is handsome. Would I wrestle with him? Sure. Fellow friend was really quick to point out that Franz Liszt actually kind of looks like my type of guy. Like, yes, I am totally dating a Franz Liszt lookalike. With that being said, he is handsome, he is magnetic, he's an incredible showman, irresistible to women. He was like actually like the first rock star. He composed his Transcendental Etude. He was a piano virtuoso. He was born in Hungary. At age 36, he quit piano and he became a conductor. He created the tone poem or symphonic poem. Apparently, like, his music had a lot of diabolical themes, but he wanted to become a priest like later in his life. I don't know. I like guys that are confused like that. The pictures that there are on the internet from like later in his life are not nice. They make him look like a weird. I'm pretty sure it's like an actual picture of him. But I just like to think of him of when he was young and handsome. So would I fight Liszt? I would love him to wrestle me. Yes, I would fight him and I would absolutely let him kick my ass. Abso-freaking-lutely, yeah. Next up, how about we do Mendelssohn? I'm gonna keep him quick. He's from Germany, he came from a wealthy family, By the age of 13, he wrote symphonies, concertos, he played the piano. In 1829, he conducted Bach's St. Matthew's Passion. The Western obsession with Bach started because he conducted that, so let that sink in. And his music presented a lot of moods, yet avoided emotional extremes. Would I fight him? I don't have any reason not to fight him, except, I mean, he totally made Bach like super popular, so thank you. But like, he was from a rich family. I think from what I read, I might be completely wrong, he didn't have that much of a tough life. So sure, I would fight him just because. Would he kick my ass? I don't really know, so I'm just gonna keep him like in the middle. Next up, who should we do? Berlioz. Yes, interesting dude. So Berlioz, I have nothing but respect for this guy, but he was kind of a stalker. Berlioz was a French composer and he fell in love with like a Shakespearean actress. He fell in love so deeply that he actually wrote Symphonie Fantastique, which is like a 5-movement symphony for her. He actually like managed to have her fall in love with him, which props to him. I mean, after writing a 5-movement symphony, then who wouldn't? But they actually like ended up separating after that. This was all in 1830, by the way. Let me give you a quick summary of his Symphonie Fantastique. During the first 3 movements, a man poisons himself with opium and he has a dream about murdering his lover. In his 4th movement, he gets killed because of his crime, and in the 5th movement, he is in hell. So, you know, very romantic. So yeah, he was like kind of obsessed with this woman, and he gives me stalker vibes. I would fight him, yeah. I think I could totally kick his ass too. Yeah, but I'd be like kind of scared that he turned like stalkerish. Yeah, I would still fight him. I don't know why. Let's do Dvorak next. Keep it fast with Mr. Dvorak. One of the top nationalist composers. He was discovered by Brahms. He wrote like Symphony No. 9 from the New World, inspired by American and like the folk spirit of his home country. Actually, the theme for Jaws apparently was taken from his 4th movement, a little bit that's very similar to that. His 9th symphony was written after he came back from the US. That's him. Would I fight him? I don't know, like he was inspired by folk and he was nationalist. I like kind of dislike overly nationalist people. I don't think I would fight him, but yeah, let's do it. Let's fight him. I think he would kick my ass, just because. Let's put him here, I'm not sure. Tchaikovsky, okay. Russian composer, yes, he will kick my ass. Yes, he will kick my ass just because he's Russian. Do I want to fight him? Absolutely not, just because he's Russian. But yes, he would absolutely kick my ass. I am 100% sure. Let's just leave it there. But for educational purposes, let me give you a little insight on this guy. If there's one thing I learned from A, my history class, and B, the movies, it's that you don't mess with Russia. He started learning music theory at age 21. I identified with that when I was studying him in class, because I feel like even though I have been like singing and, you know, kind of involved in music a little bit, I didn't really get serious like other people did that were like music students, where they had been playing like their instruments since they were like 5, and they came to school knowing like their modes. When I came to college, I was 18 and I had a language barrier. Even though like I spoke English pretty okay, a lot of what I learned was from the music conservatory when I was in elementary school, so a lot of that had really gone out the window. So the whole like getting serious with music at a later age, I really identified with, especially with my instrument that I'm majoring in actually right now, is drums. I always had this interest in playing, but I was just maybe like too shy, or I was scared of what people would think if like a girl played drums, or if a girl was like playing snare. You know, so I kind of put it off, even though I actually had expressed one time, or maybe a couple of times here and there, that I would love to learn percussion. When I got to college and I was majoring in vocals, I went a little drum crazy, and I don't know, like my obsession with like wanting to be serious on drums started when I was like 18, really. So I really felt identified when I saw that. He actually started learning music theory at 21, because look at, he's like such a great composer. Dude, like, are you for real? So being a late bloomers out there, you are great. Don't get discouraged. Another thing that I thought I identified with, well, I don't identify with it, but like I feel for him, is that he actually married a woman to conceal his homosexuality. I can even like start to imagine how heartbreaking that must have been for him, especially in those times and everything. It was just better to conceal it. I'd like to think that Tchaikovsky was like alive and well at this age. He would be living it up and actually being his true self and being a great musician. Yeah, oh, Romeo and Juliet was his first great orchestral work, and the 1812 overture was a nationalist piece for when Russia beat Napoleon. He uses cannons, and it's pretty damn famous and badass. He wrote 6 symphonies, and if you could look at his 1812 overture, it is amazing. Also, chef's kiss. The fact that he uses cannons is unbelievable. So yeah, Tchaikovsky, I really like him. He's one of those composers that's really up there in the tier list for me. But yes, he would totally kick my ass, and no, I would not fight him. I wouldn't even try to fight back, I can't. Cool, next up, let's go to Brahms. So I have some things to say about Brahms because of what I wrote on the peculiar life of the Schumanns. Brahms like sent letters to Clara, and even though he was friends with Robert Schumann, he was like totally in love with her. Like there's no denying it. I'm pretty sure he had some childhood trauma. I think he was like the main moneymaker in his family growing up, and his dad used to like have him play in like a bordel. I don't know like how to say that in English. I guess he had like relationship issues because of that. Yeah, like a lot of the letters that he wrote to Clara, he actually burned and such, but he was actually really good with helping raise Robert Schumann's kids with Clara after he passed away. So I would not fight him, but I kind of want to fight him. Would he kick my ass? I feel like I could kick his ass. And if I had to fight him, I guess I could fight him. Well, no, you know what? No, I wouldn't fight him because after all, he stepped up for his friend. Even though he actually ended up falling in love with his wife, Robert was already dead and he stepped up and he actually helped Clara. So, yay for you. I would not fight him, but I would totally kick his ass. Let's put him here. Let's give some of insight on his music. I actually really like his music too. It's really poetic and emotional and really nice. It's really nice to listen to. He's from Germany. His father was a bass player and he wasn't gigging. So he took piano lessons during days and he would play at whorehouses and dance clubs at nights, as I said earlier. He abandoned his composing career for 2 years after Robert Schumann died in order to take care of Clara and the kids, as I said earlier. His music was very lyrical, very rich. His tones were very dark. That actually comes through. I feel like a lot of the times when people say something is like dark and stuff, I can never quite hear it, but with his music I can actually really hear it, and I appreciate that. He puts melodies on like mid-range instruments like violas instead of on like high-pitched instruments. His music was very rich and dense and polyphonic. He used syncopations like 2/3. He wrote 4 symphonies. He became really traumatized, as I said earlier, so he couldn't commit to like a relationship. He burnt Clara's letters. Carlos Santana apparently used one of his melodies in one of like his songs. So yeah, that was Brahms. Cool beans. Let's move on to Verdi. He's the most popular like opera composer that I can think of. Yeah, I mean Wagner. But you know, he's up there. He's Italian. Giuseppe Verdi. If this name doesn't scream Italian, then I don't know what is. I don't know what does. He composed for middle class. He was hated by the rich people, apparently. Oberto was his first opera. It had moderate success. He was asked to write more, but then his wife and his children died. So he vowed to not compose anymore, which is really sad. But he changed his mind after he read a libretto about Jews who were exiled from their homeland. He was a nationalist who yearned for a free and unified Italy and saw the Jews as a symbol of the oppressed Italians. He composed Nabucco, and it was a huge success. So Nabucco was what he composed about the Jews. So I'd absolutely not fight Giuseppe Verdi. Would he kick my ass? I don't know. Italians? I feel like he was so sad. Like, he had such a sad life. It's like, you know, the same with Brahms. Like, out of just being sad, I would maybe like let him kick my ass. But if it was a for real fight, I feel like I would kick their ass. Next up is, let's do Sibelius. Okay, Sibelius. Insert like the Sibelius, like da 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 da. Sibelius was really important. I mean, all of these people were really important. He actually like died not long ago, 1957. He was Finnish composer. He wrote 7 symphonies. In fact, apparently there were actually 8 symphonies, but his last one disappeared. He wrote tone poems. Finlandia is his most famous. In my notes, I have that the last movement of Symphony No. 5 made me feel things. Would I fight him? I would absolutely not fight him. I feel like he could kick my ass. I don't think Finnish people are aggressive, but I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. Sure, I think he could kick my ass. But yeah, he was definitely very important. And Finland has great musicians. They pay a lot of attention to like their music education. A lot of countries don't, but they do, and they've got great musicians. Thank you to Mr. Sibelius. Now, someone that I've been waiting for this entire time to talk about is Richard freaking Wagner. And I don't even have to consider it. Like, would I want to fight him? Would he kick my ass? Yes, absolutely he would kick my ass. Do I want to punch him in the face? Yes, absolutely. Right here. Yep. So, Richard Wagner, it has been said that he did not like Jews, and actually Hitler did like his music. Was he, and is he still very important? Yes, I guess. Well, yes, he's very important for operas. He actually like wrote his own librettos, and he made the orchestra equally as important as the libretto, and as he thought that every element of the opera was equally important, from the costumes to the set design to the libretto to the music to the musicians to the actors and actresses. It was all equally as important. Sadly, like, apparently he didn't like Jews, and he actually blamed them for his lack of success at some point of his life. And even though he disliked Jews, he's like not, apparently he wasn't a violent person. The Wagner tuba was created for him. He taught himself how to compose by studying scores. Even though he did have 3 years of formal music theory training, he never truly mastered an instrument. The term leitmotif, which is used very often now, was first used to describe one of his pieces. Leitmotifs are like little melodies that pop up with specific characters. Actually, he had 2 kids with Franz Liszt's daughter, and when his wife died, he actually married Franz Liszt's daughter. And most importantly, his philosophy and his art actually influenced all of, art, basically. So he was a huge deal, but I don't like him, I guess. So I would fight him, but he would totally kick my butt. How about we do Mr. Gustav Mahler. Okay, so he is from Austria. Actually, his music was banned by the Nazis in World War II because he was Jewish. After 1945, he became one of the most performed and recorded composers of all time. He didn't want to finish his 9th symphony because he knew about this curse called the curse of the 9th. Like, you know how we have the 27 curse in rock and roll, which is like once you turn 27, a lot of rock stars die. For composers, it was like the 9th symphony curse, and a lot of composers died after doing their 9th symphony. I could maybe talk about it in more detail later, but yeah. After Mahler finished his 9th symphony, he actually did die. So he was scared for good reason. For his 6th symphony, he actually used a huge hammer as part of the instrumentation. His symphonies are actually longer than many others. They're about 90 minutes long. He wrote a symphony about his wife, which was Symphony Number 5, and he made programmatic music. He has some pieces that start in minor and end in major, which was like pretty radical back then. Would I fight Gustav Mahler? No, you know what? I would not fight him because he had it tough with the whole World War II ban on his music. He did become successful later. I think that's great for him. So I wouldn't fight him, but I don't know if he would kick my ass. I'm gonna like put it right in between, right there. I think he looks good there. Cool. So, okay, so I'm gonna leave it at that. 14 composers, I think I touched in mostly romantic era. That's what it is. I'm not feeling completely confident about my 4 quadrants, but it is what it is. I'm sorry I could only get to 14. There are so many composers, and I would love to do like a part 2 of this with, obviously I couldn't get to Bach or Mozart or Haydn or Handel, Stravinsky. Oh my god, so many composers that are still so great. I would love to talk about Bartók and Vivaldi. I mean, Paganini, like come on. Debussy. Yeah, so I couldn't get to a lot of these, but yeah, maybe part 2 someday. If this has taught you anything or you actually got a good laugh, then make sure you leave a like or a comment about this video. All the credit for this idea goes to strictly Tyler Oakley. I thought it would be cool if I could take his little concept and put some music theory or music history behind it and maybe teach you something along the way. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, stay safe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.